and welcome to this public forum with the candidates for the Burleigh County Commission. I am Anessa Pfeiffer-Gonzalez with the League of Women Voters, and I will be your moderator. This candidate forum has been organized by the League of Women Voters of Bismarck-Mandan and Dakota Media Access. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that promotes the informed participation of all citizens in the government. The League does not endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. There are 6 candidates running for election for 3 open seats on the Burleigh County Commission, and 5 candidates have joined us here tonight. They are Dennis Agnew, Kathleen Jones, Jim Peluso, Steve Schwab, and Leo Vetter. The audience here tonight, September 27th, is invited to submit questions on the index cards provided, and viewers and listeners may phone or text in questions for the candidates. The number to call is 701-355-1312 or text LWV 18527 to the number 22333. This is intended to be a respectful exchange of ideas. Our purpose here this evening is to provide voters with information about the candidates and their positions on issues that affect the people of Burleigh County. Now let's meet our candidates. You'll each have 1 minute to tell us why you are seeking election to the Burleigh County Commission. Kathleen, Mrs. Jones, you're first.
Thank you. And I want to thank the Women's League of Voters as well as Dakota Access for holding this forum. I am seeking re-election. I was elected initially in 2014. I carry the majority of the portfolios for Burleigh County as a commissioner. And as a consequence, I return money to the Burleigh County General Fund each and every year that I've been on the commission. My main purpose in running is to oppose tax increase. In the last 2 years, the county has taken approximately a little bit better than 7 mills away from taxpayers. Works out to about a 15-16% cut in your property taxes. Thank you, and thank you all for attending, and I look forward to this.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter.
Hi, thank you, Anessa. I am Leo Vetter, and I have experienced a good life living in Burleigh County, and I feel it is time for me to reciprocate and give back to the community by working with the Burleigh County Commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Peluso.
Again, thank you for hosting this, and thanks the folks who stuck around after the sheriff's forum. I'm Jim Peluso. This is my 12th year on the commission, and I'm running again at the urging of my family, my friends, a lot of the staff at Burleigh County. I think we've had a pretty cohesive commission the last several years. I'd hate to see, not being involved in that for the next 3 years. Just appreciate all the support I've gotten, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Agnew.
Hello, my name is Dennis Agnew. I live on a 3rd-generation farm in the Moffat area, southeast of Bismarck, and am involved in the agricultural community and have experience on my township board. I work at the Bobcat Company I've done so for 18 years. My wife works at Sanford Hospital in Bismarck. My wife and I also own a small business in Burleigh County, Agnew Steel Incorporated, where we make grain handling equipment on our farm. And I'm running for the commission because I want to bring some fresh thinking, innovative problem solving to our spending and our budgeting and our legislating and focus on efficiency. I want to be a transparent and open commissioner so that people can find me available and open to listen to their concerns. And finally, I want to be a representative for the rural and the urban settings and citizens of our county. We are a large county, diverse county, but we all live in the county. So I want to represent everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Schwab, and former city commissioner. I have experience in government. I am running specifically because I think there should be new ideas on the county commission. There are some projects that are not getting done that need to be addressed, in my opinion. I bring the experience and the know how to get some of these projects going, being that I've owned a construction company since 1973, and I also understand that the county not only represents the county, but the city, and being that I work in the county and the city with my business, I'm aware of a lot of the problems that need to be solved.
Thank you. The audience here tonight, September 27th, is invited to submit questions on the index cards provided, and viewers and listeners at home may phone or text in questions for the candidates. The number to call is 701-355-1312 or text LWV 18527 to the number 22333. This is intended to be a respectful exchange of ideas. Our purpose this evening is to provide voters with information about the candidates and their positions on the issues that affect the people of Burleigh County. Thank you. We'll move on to the questions developed by the members of the League of Women Voters, our in-house audience, and the viewers at home. Let's begin with Mrs. Jones. Kathleen, I'll be asking one question to three of you, and then we'll be switching to the next question. This is for the people at home wondering why someone got left out. It was planned. Okay. First question. What is your position regarding the current arrangement between Burleigh County and the City of Bismarck and the negotiated extraterritorial area around Bismarck? Should it remain in its current state, be pulled back, or be eliminated altogether? Would you like me to repeat the question?
No. Thank you. The ETA, which was named the ETA here a few years back by the legislature, has actually existed for about 40 years. And it has worked well across the state in all counties. As for deleting it, removing it, there needs to be some adjustment done to it so that jurisdictional permitting can be done, but I would leave it alone. And I live in the ETA, I might add.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter, what's your position regarding the current arrangement between Burleigh County and the City of Bismarck and the negotiated extraterritorial areas around Bismarck?
Well, it's an area that gets a little sticky, a little complicated, depends on which side you're on, and I think it's something that you can't fix or decide to change if you want to, without a lot of planning and decision making with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Peluso.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing situation since I've been here. I really do think it needs to be addressed. I'm not saying to remove it. I'm not saying to pull it back. I'm saying it's basically government without representation, and by that there's people in the 4-mile ETA who cannot complain to the city or to the city commissioners because they cannot vote for the city commissioners. They come to us and say, why can't we do something? And we have no answer because we're not involved in the 4-mile ETA, but yet we're their representatives. So all we can do is speak with, the city commission and try to solve problems that way. I think there needs to be representation somehow, whether it's designating somebody to be that person or removing it. It's a possibility.
Thank you. New question. How do you plan to address the infrastructure needs of Burleigh County, and what funding methods do you favor for upgrades or repairs?
The funding for infrastructure, obviously very important. We definitely have needs, and I can tell you that we've heard plenty of needs, whether you are in closer to the population center of Bismarck or out in the country. Out in the country, obviously there's plenty of issues with, I need my road cleared, I need my road graded, those type of things for the gravel roads. I think there's things that we can do to try to split up some of the needs that we are taking care of as a county closer to the population center, and potentially try to share some of that need with the city. So pulling people potentially out a little farther into that ETA that was just talked about, being able to free up some of our blades, maintainers, things like that, to actually get out to the county more often and clear snow at a more timely rate.
Thank you. Mr. Schwab, how do you plan to address the infrastructure needs of Burleigh County?
I think the county does a very good job with their budget and removing snow. You can't remove snow and do a lot of this stuff, in the first hour. And I've really heard no complaints. I think the people realize that. But I want to go back to that first question. And, you talk about the ETA. I call it the extraterrestrial zone because nobody knows what's going on in it. I work out in the county with my company, and you call an inspector from the county. Well, no, you got to call the city. You got to call the county. You got to call the city. And then you may have to have an inspector out of a township. It's a mess. I feel that you can do a lot of infrastructure if you get rid of this zone, and what's in the city takes care of, and what's in the county takes care of. And
Thank you.
they should work their own jurisdictions.
All right, thank you. And the question goes on to you. How do you plan to address the infrastructure needs of Burleigh County, and what funding methods do you favor for upgrades or repairs?
Well, the county has a 10-year plan on infrastructure needs. And our highway engineer has done a very good job at getting these through, keeping them on budget or under budget. We, as a county commission, have now approved 2 full mills for the highway department. But I think the funding for highways, we have to look to the state for some additional help, to the federal government for some additional help. And I think we have to be a little more creative with applying for certain types of grants.
Thank you. Next question goes to Mr. Vetter. How can Burleigh County attract rural business development? And I'm going to pair with that, do you live outside of the Bismarck city limits? So how can Burleigh County attract rural business development, and do you live outside the Bismarck city limits?
I do live in the city of Bismarck, and say that again, the question?
How can Burleigh County attract rural business development?
Well, that would be something I feel that we could work together as a commission to devise some plans, to come up with some different ideas that we could approach and submit to the residents, the citizens of Burleigh County.
Thank you. Mr. Peluso?
I do live outside of city limits. And I think we have attracted, quite a bit of business outside in rural Bismarck. I think it's getting better. If you check the intersections outside of town, there's stuff happening. I think the problem we run into a lot is we have to deal with the local township boards to change the zoning, and that's not always the easiest to get commercial zoning and that type of thing in an agricultural area. So it's an ongoing process, and I think we've done a fairly good job on it. As far as, if I could just address the infrastructure thing for a second, I think in the next biennium there's going to be a bill coming out of the state that looks pretty darn good for infrastructure funding to the counties, roads, bridges, that type of thing, and I think that's going to be something we have to really push hard for and get to our legislators and try to secure some of that.
Thank you. And Mr. Agnew, do you live inside or outside of town, and how can Burleigh County attract rural business development?
Absolutely. I live outside of town. I live about 30 miles outside of town. And attracting rural or business into the rural community is we need obviously good infrastructure, good schools, these type of things that if you're going to have a business move in, you're going to need workers. You're going to need to need to attract people to the area. And people aren't going to come to an area just for a job. They're going to come for a lifestyle. So they're going to want to work here, but then there's other things other than work. So we need to make sure that we are supporting the growth in the county, however that may be, and making this attractive for not only the business, but the people that work in those businesses.
Thank you. Next question. Interim legislative committees are currently considering a county social service human service redesign. So what do you think should happen to create a more seamless or comprehensive supports and services?
What should happen is that I actually think that maybe our social service in Burleigh County might be a little undermanned. There is a lot of demand for it. You're getting into an issue there where I think a lot of information needs to be thrown together to see what can be done. As a matter of fact, I'm concerned. You talk about social services. I'm concerned because the buses aren't running between Bismarck and Lincoln, and there's people out there that used to depend on them, and I think that those kind of issues need to be worked on.
Thank you. Interim legislative committees are currently considering a county social service human service redesign. What do you think should happen to create a more seamless or comprehensive supports and services program?
2 years ago, the state actually took over the majority of the budget for social services and had started working on the program which you're speaking of. I was at a legislative committee hearing not long ago, and they're now considering 15 regions across the state. Each county would keep a social service department, and the department would follow state regulations, but the county would be responsible for the employees. It's, as my opponent has stated, it's a very complicated issue, and it does need some attention. But right now, I'd like to see what the state comes out with in the 19th session, and then go from there. I think it's going to be an ongoing situation for a number of sessions at the state level.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Vetter, what is the most important issue facing Burleigh County in the next 18 months, and what do you think might be the most important issue in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, those are complicated. I mean, it's a complicated county, and as far as what they're doing and what the decision making, I feel that the commissioners are working diligently in the right direction to address all of those, and as a commissioner, I'd work with them to continue that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do believe I was supposed to have given you the previous question, so I'm going to give you a shot at that if you'd like. The committees are currently considering a county social service human service redesign, and what were your thoughts on making that a seamless transition?
I would seek out the heads of the social service departments and work with them diligently and use their advice, their suggestions as to which way we should approach the solution, the seamless transition.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And the question for you is then the most important issue facing Burleigh County in the next 18 months or in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's a tough one. We've addressed some pretty big issues in Burleigh County. I feel the detention center was a big one, the cooperation with Morton County, right on down the line. I think in the next 18 months, obviously, we're going to have a new sheriff, and we need to make that a seamless transition. That's going to be, take some time. In the next 3 years, I'm going to say it's going to be infrastructure is going to be a key, and how we're going to deal with that, and a lot of it's going to depend on the funding we get from, the state. And the social service issue is going to be a big issue in the next 3 years. How that's going to come together. I agree with Commissioner Jones that they've done a pretty good job of it so far. We're able to balance our budget pretty well this year because of it. So I think there's more things that can be done, but we'll keep at it.
Thank you. Mr. Agnew, most important issues facing Burleigh County in the next 18 months and the most important issue in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yes, in the near term, I want to talk a little bit about the ETA. Is that let's get that solved. Let's get that over. I've heard way too much about it is so confusing. I don't know where to go. Those type of things. So whether the county takes that over, and we always have to think about why do we have an ETA? We have an ETA to make sure that we have responsible growth, and as the county can work in hand with the city, even if they are controlling the ETA, so that people know who they can go to. So if you get a city water bill, you go to the city. If you don't, you go to the county. Very clear cut. In long term, I think we've got very low unemployment. It's a great opportunity. That's a great problem to have. We need to make sure that we are doing things to attract people to the area, make sure that we have homes for them, developments that they can move into, and just get people here and solve that issue.
Thank you. And you get the chance at question number 5. What's the most important issue facing Burleigh County in the next 18 months, and what you see as the most important issue in the future?
I think I'm going to go back to that ETA issue on this one. You know, there's places in the county where rural water can't even be hooked up to businesses, for the simple reason is the city kind of has the zoning in that area, and they don't know what to do. Well, either annex that property and let these businesses grow, or let rural water go in. You know, I mean, it's getting to be kind of a tug of war, and what really needs to be done is to get the city and the county on the same page. I think it would save a lot of money, and that money could be used to go to infrastructure.
Thank you. Which leads us to the next question. How should Burleigh County work with the city of Bismarck?
I've been on the commission 4 years, and I've had no difficulty whatsoever in working with the city. If I have an engineering question, I call them. I sit on 3 different committees as a county commissioner that are city committees, and I work very closely with the Renaissance and the design approval, the health and opioid crisis, which is currently becoming a topic of major concern here. And then, of course, I'm very involved with the Chamber and the BMDA and the local issues and the governmental issues. And I really have never had a problem in working with the city. We sit down, we discuss the problem, and we mediate. We come to some kind of conclusion that we can both live with. If it doesn't work, we do it again.
Thank you. How should Burleigh County work with the city of Bismarck?
Well, both parties, they're all people. They both live in Burleigh County, and so they should work together. And I don't see it as being an issue with myself and or any other commissioners working directly with the city of Bismarck and receiving information, whatever we need.
Thank you. Same question. How should Burleigh County work with the city of Bismarck?
Again, I agree with both candidates that, you know, I think we've worked pretty well with them. It goes back to the ETA. I think that's been our biggest issues when we have, you know, like Mr. Schwab says, you know, deadheading water lines and they can't get water to certain places, and I think that's going to take care of itself. There's a lot of turnover in the city, and I think the relationships are going to continue to get better. But really and truly, I haven't had any problems with, you know, anybody in the city thus far, and it's been a pretty good relationship from my standpoint.
Thank you. How do you believe the county should best interact with township officials?
That is a great question, because we as a county have controlling pieces over some of the townships, but some not. And I think working with the townships is a great thing. I was on the township board in Morton Township and had a great working relationship with the county. I've got plenty of good things to say that are very helpful, and I want to continue that. So working with the townships is key because it's all local government, and that is the closest form of government to the people that live in those townships. So as county commissioners, we need to make sure that we're supportive and helpful to the townships.
Thank you. How do you believe the county should best interact with township officials?
I not only think that the county should work with the township officials, but there are small cities in this county that I think should be included in some of the decisions that are made, and there are some decisions that are coming up where it's going to encompass not only the city of Bismarck, the county, the townships, but the small cities like Lincoln, Sterling. And I kind of think that maybe what should happen is that when these projects come up, and I've got a couple of them in mind, and I know they're coming, I would like to see the website on the Burleigh County start putting more information out. I think they do a good job, but I think it could be done much better. I think there's a dearth of information
Thank
on
you.
some of these projects.
Thank you. And how do you believe the county should best interact with township officials?
Well, I think we've done a good job in interacting. About every other year, I go to the county township meeting. Excuse me, I go to that every year. I go to the state meeting about every other year. I have a township manual. Township officers call me. I had a call from one today regarding something. I don't think we got a problem there. I've worked very closely with many of the townships in Burleigh County and the small communities, Wing and Wilton, Sterling. And so they're not really left out. They're very much aware. I attend their city commission meetings maybe quarterly.
Thank
So,
you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next question. What needs to be done for the implementation of medical marijuana in Burleigh County?
That becomes a complicated issue. It's something that one person would not make the decision, and as a commissioner with the group, that's where we would decide and work and make decisions based on the feedback we would get back from the citizens of Burleigh County.
Thank you.
Repeat that question.
What needs to be done or could be done for the implementation of medical marijuana in Burleigh County?
I probably defer that to our sheriff and our legal authorities. You know, personally, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what, you know, would be expected from us as commissioners. I had suggested a year ago that maybe they should look at decriminalizing a half ounce of marijuana and not deal with it. Not deal with the medical issue or the issue, but I don't know. I really don't have a good answer for that because it's never been posed to us before, and I haven't given it a lot of thought until recently. It's coming up on the ballot, so it's going to be an issue, no question.
Thank you. What needs to be done for the implementation of medical marijuana in Burleigh County?
All right, we're talking about medical, so that's yeah, absolutely not recreational. Obviously, that'll be on the ballot, and that's going to be a hot issue. It's for the medical piece of it. As far as I'm concerned, we are involved at a zoning piece of that, not necessarily the commission, but the zoning board, the zoning planning board. So we need to make sure that we are if we've got the places that distribute or grow, anything like that, making sure that we have the right zoning in place to be able to facilitate what is legal. So that's where we get involved, and that's what we have to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
New question. What are your ideas or what proposals do you support to expand the use and vitality of the Missouri Valley Complex?
Well, you know, that's an issue that I've really looked at hard, and I went back to the May 7th meeting of this year, and it kind of got to be a little free-for-all on that in the last 12 minutes over that issue about a feasibility study. And that is why I think, like the master plan, you cannot find a master plan for the Burleigh County Fairgrounds. You have to go to a commissioner to get it. I mean, they're not available. That should be on the web. I did an open record request concerning this study that was paid for $16,500, and there was no study. So I'm really concerned about that because I think the fairgrounds is really becoming a eyesore, and it really needs stop.
Okay, thank you. What are your ideas or what proposals do you support to expand the use and vitality of the Missouri Valley Complex?
Okay. I've carried this portfolio for the last 3 years. We did a master plan in 2017, which cost $50,000 and which is posted on the web under the Missouri Valley Complex Master Plan. There was discussion after the master plan had been accepted to go into additional studies, specific areas. And one of them was to hire a consultant to provide us with some information. And the consultant came back to us approximately 30 days later and said they could not obtain that and they were going to change the scope. I was not at that meeting, and the commission never approved or rejected the idea. That was the meeting that was $16,000, the part of the study that was to be $16,000. The proper way of handling that would have been if the commission wanted something else. Sorry, okay. Didn't see your sign.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter, what are your ideas or proposals to support, or do you support or expand the use and vitality of the Missouri Valley Complex?
In the mid-90s, I was the president of the Bismarck Trail and Motocross Association, and myself and a couple other members worked diligently with the Missouri Valley Fair Board to get the current motocross track out there in its current stage. And to protect it, I became a board member of the Missouri Valley Fairgrounds. So I worked for it and with it, and so I'd like to see it progress.
Thank you. On to the next question. Do you think a county administrator is needed? If no, why not? And if yes, what steps do you propose to make it happen?
That's a very good question. And I think yes, it's going to be inevitable. We're growing. We're getting inundated every day with questions and you know, things that probably commissioners shouldn't be involved in. I mean, asking, you know, the smallest of questions. And we do need an administrator or whatever we want to call him. Along with that, I think we need to eliminate the auditor's job as an elected position. I think that's a very, very scary thing. And, you know, in the near future, we're going to be dealing with probably a lot of retirements and whatnot at that level. And I could run for a county auditor, and if I won, we'd have to hire somebody to do my job because I wouldn't know what to do. And that's scary. So I think a county administrator, and I've said this for several years, we just haven't gotten it done. It's kind of a difficult subject sometimes.
Thank you. Mr. Agnew, do you think a county administrator is needed? If no, why not? And if yes, what steps do you propose to make it happen?
Yes, definitely. I think it is needed, and the reason that it is needed is for continuity and to make sure that we're tying all these loose pieces together and making sure that that person is in place to look for, as I said earlier in introducing myself, for the efficiencies in the county, making sure that we're as efficient as possible. And I want to just go back and touch on the complex question that you posed, but it's not really that complex. But I am definitely in favor of executing a plan for the Missouri Valley Complex, as long as it's a benefit to the community, and it goes right back to attracting people here. Why do people want to be here? Why do they want to come here? I want to make sure it's some sort of a revenue generator, and whether that is a mountain biking, horse park, something to add to the motocross, whether it's an ice rink, doesn't matter to me. Let's make this a place that it can be used and is a benefit to our community.
Thank you. And do you think a county administrator is needed? If no, why not? And if yes, what steps would you propose to make it happen?
I think we could use an administrator. However, I don't think the administrator should be the person that makes emergency decisions, etc. after a certain level is hit, I still think that just because you got an administrator doesn't mean that the commissioners shouldn't do their job. Getting back to that fairground deal, you know, we're proposing a $26 million riding arena that is just for a certain small group of people. And I've got people out there also talking about a motocross and threshing bees. I really think that that whole Burleigh County Fairground is a gold mine waiting to happen for the city, tax-wise, bringing people in. But I really think you need new blood to get this thing going.
Thank you. Do you have any new ideas for how Bismarck Burleigh Public Health can support keeping residents of all ages, from children to seniors, healthy and productive?
Well, they're not new ideas, but they're ideas that we have implemented over the last 4 years. We have home visitation for the elderly in the county. Most of it is on a weekly or semi-weekly basis. The children, we visit all the rural schools. Flu shots, eye tests, hearing tests, those have all been implemented. As the state moves forward in giving the health departments across the state more knowledge of what is going on in the schools. Earlier this evening we heard about the security issues. I think that the Bismarck Burleigh County Health Department will just adopt those and keep moving.
Thank you. Do you have any new ideas for how Bismarck Burleigh Public Health can support at keeping residents of all ages, from children to seniors, healthy and productive?
I would work with the different groups that work with these people that can help it out, and delegate it out to the people and work with the commission to help decide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Peluso, do you have any ideas, new ideas for how Bismarck Burleigh Public Health can support keeping residents of all ages, from children to seniors, healthy and productive?
Well, I think they do a pretty good job. I think they could work with the extension service a little bit. We're starting to get into some of that out there. Somebody want to join me in taking cell phones away from kids and whatnot, and you know, have a couple of days where they need to do exercise. I was a physical education major in my youth, and I see that our society right now is getting to be a little bit unfit, and I think we need to address that. I would suggest, you know, any type of activity programs for kids. The schools have gotten away from Phi-Ed somewhat, and maybe it's, I don't know if it's our responsibility or not, but I would sure support something to that effect.
Thank you. 12th question. What is the County Commission's role in assuring that voting is accessible to all county citizens?
Oh, that's a good question, because we've got a vote coming up. I think our role in it is to make sure that things are accessible and stay accessible. And we're not closing down voting sites. We should be pushing or supporting opening more. I think there's accessibility is a big thing. This is the freedom that we have is to actually cast our vote, pick our leaders, and making sure that we are just providing accessibility and are behind that 100%.
Thank you. Mr. Schwab, what is the County Commission's role in assuring that voting is accessible to all county citizens?
To me, that's a strange question, because I think everybody has access to voting. You know, if somebody's handicapped or something, I believe they can call relatives, whatever, to get to the polls. The one thing I will say is that I'll be very frank about this, is that not only access, but who is voting. And I do not think in Burleigh County or in the city of Bismarck, people that are not citizens of the United States should be voting.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jones, what is the County Commission's role in assuring that voting is accessible to all county citizens?
Well, our role is simply allowing early vote, allowing absentee vote, and having precincts open. I believe it's 12 hours for the public. We have some sight readers for people who have eye issues. There are many ways you can get to the polls. Senior citizen bus brings people down for early vote, and they do it in some precincts. I'm not going to say all. I think we're in pretty good shape, and now that we have, the Secretary of State has decided that a North Dakota driver's license is a valid form of ID, I don't think we have an alien voting problem.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter, what is Burleigh County's biggest financial challenge and how should it be addressed?
Probably, I don't know if it would be their biggest, largest, but the ETA area would be something they need to work with and address and try to come to some better grounds than they are currently and work on that direction.
Thank you. Mr. Peluso, what is Burleigh County's biggest financial challenge and how should it be addressed?
I think our biggest financial challenge is probably going to be in the future with healthcare, employees, that type of thing. We have to retain good employees. We have to pay them, and that's going to be a challenge. The workforce is getting spread out again, and in order for us to keep good employees, we're gonna need to, keep the wage up and the health and the benefits where they're at. I think we've got most of our big challenges under control. Everybody was, worried about our detention center and this and that, and I think that's proving to be a successful endeavor, and it's not, breaking the bank, and Sheriff Heiner's done a tremendous job out there with it. Social services has been kind of evened out for us. The state has really helped us there. So I'm sure we'll have some, but we'll address them.
Thank you. And what is Burleigh County's biggest financial challenge and how should it be addressed?
I would say the good thing about this year is that I've been to the budget hearings, the preliminaries, the final budget hearings, met with Clyde Thompson and some other department leads, and this is we're sitting very well. It's very nice to actually have a good-looking general fund. Now that's in regards to, obviously we had a good one-time windfall here from a Senate bill, so it's not going to be that easy every year. And coming in, we've got infrastructure that we obviously need to pay for, and we have the continual, the long-term maintenance and of operating costs of the jail. Now I know there's some ideas out there on how to cover that, and I'm more than willing to entertain some of those.
Thank you. New question. Should the sheriff be the jail administrator? Explain.
Yes, he should, because, everything starts at the top. And I believe that you can't have two people making decisions. And a lot of times, you get these personality conflicts or whatever. I think the sheriff is, we all know he's the chief law enforcement officer in the county, and I think we should just keep it that way. That includes handling the jail.
Thank you.
I would agree. I think the sheriff needs to be the overall administrator. However, I would like to see a person, because our sheriff currently spends 1 or 2 days a week out at the detention center, and I would like to see one person work very closely with him that is there 5 days a week, 7 days a week. But according to state law, the sheriff is the administrator. Thank you.
Thank you. Should the sheriff be the jail administrator? Explain.
I think the sheriff should be, although in our current county building. It's a little bit complicated since we are co-oping with Morton County. And so that would be something that the department heads would have to be consulted with the Burleigh County to take that in the right direction as to what would be the most beneficial for the citizens of Burleigh County.
Thank you. Mr. Peluso, what are your expectations of the county staff, and what do you think they expect of our commissioners?
Well, first of all, I think they expect our respect, and respect is earned, not demanded. And I believe that our staff right now is amongst the finest we've had, and we have a good dialogue between the commission and the staff. The staff respects the commission respects the staff, and I think it reflects in how we're trying to treat them with salaries and wages. It's a tough situation sometimes, particularly like I've had the sheriff's portfolio for 12 years, and we've had a very good relationship. But him being an elected official and myself being an elected official, you could see where some conflicts could arise, but they haven't, and we hope they don't. And I think we just have a good relationship with most of the employees.
Thank you. What are your expectations of county staff, and what do you think they expect of the commissioners?
What they expect from the commissioners should be support. I think we should be definitely supporting the staff. The staff, I think, does a great job. All the staff that I've worked with has been very professional, very helpful. And going forward, I think we're talking about putting in an administrator, changing up some different departments, and that could be a little tough, depending on how that goes. I think we're all here to make sure that we're spending the taxpayers' money wisely. So we need to become we're doing well, but we need to become more efficient, and that means obviously less spending and less tax.
Thank you. What are your expectations of the county staff, and what do you think they expect of the commissioners?
I expect the staff to do their job and understand their job, and I believe that's being done now. As a business owner running a construction company, I have learned that not only by consulting people, which would be staff in this case, but even talking to the person out there shoveling or driving a truck. If you ever want to cut costs, talk to them. You'll get an earful. I mean, you'll literally get an earful. I have learned more from the grunts out there, we call them, and I'm a grunt too because I'm out there working with them, than you can imagine. And their ideas are good, they're cost efficient, save money, and it isn't just staff, it's motivation. So as long as they're working together and once in a while I ask them for ideas, I think you're on your way to prosperity.
Thank you. New question. How effective is Burleigh County in working with city and state entities regarding law enforcement?
I believe we're very effective. I don't carry that particular portfolio. However, our sheriff comes to at least every other county commission meeting and updates us on what's going on. We have been very successful as a county at getting grant for specific use in the law enforcement area. So I think we have been very successful. I have talked to people down in Cass County, and I think Cass and Burleigh County operate pretty much alike. Both very good departments.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter, how effective do you believe Burleigh County is in working with the city and state entities regarding law enforcement?
I feel they're very effective, and I think they work very well together. They are communicating well and just working together very well.
Thank you. Mr. Peluso, how effective is Burleigh County in working with city and state entities regarding law enforcement?
Yeah, I can't I can't expound on that really because they do a marvelous job. The one thing I can say is Sheriff Heinert has been at every meeting that since I've been a commissioner, and he's been the sheriff. And the communication is really good. And now they're working with Morton County as well with the combined detention center. So the city, Morton, Mandan, it's worked out extremely well.
Thank you. And one last question for all of you, and I will begin with Mr. Agnew. What is your vision for the future of Burleigh County?
Well, my vision for the future of Burleigh County is definitely, I think it is all about growth, and that's not necessarily my vision. That is the vision of many people in the area. We as a commission need to support that growth and make sure that we are laying the groundwork for our not only our population center but our rural areas, because as our county grows, we've got the Driscolls, Sterlings, Wings, Wiltons, Mackenzies, Moffats that are going to continue to grow also as people move into the county. And if we're growing in one area or another area, that's good for all of us, because as I said before, we all live in the county, and growth is a good thing.
Thank you. What is your vision for the future of Burleigh County?
My vision for Burleigh County, and when you say Burleigh County, this includes Bismarck, is as a city commissioner, you know, they were always comparing Bismarck to Fargo, and it was kind of a who's going to grow the fastest. I would like to see the county grow the best, not the fastest, but sustainable. We don't have to set records. We can attract business, but don't get into these competing wars with other cities. We want the title of the fastest growing. I want the best community we can have, and the vision is good law enforcement. And by God, let's get going on that fairground, because that's going to attract a lot of business.
Thank you. What is your vision for the future of Burleigh County?
Well, I can repeat everything that's already been said, but the one thing that Burleigh County doesn't do is tout how wonderful we already are. We have the capital city. We have the #1 park and rec department in our size community in the upper region. #1 school district. Wonderful library and bookmobile that travels throughout the county. And I think what we need to do is educate our visitors as they go through town as to who we are and the opportunities here. We have many, many opportunities, and as Mr. Agnew said, we actually have a shortage of workers, and it's been going on for the last 3 years. So maybe if we tout what we have, we can get some workers here too.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter, what is your vision for the future of Burleigh County?
The county has been running real well. Everyone's doing a great job in all their different areas, and I see that as a commissioner, I could assist in moving it to another level and improving, just like everything can use some improvement.
Thank you. Mr. Peluso, what is your vision?
It's pretty much all been said, but growth and prosperity. I think we continue on the path we are. We're obviously, you know, in the middle of the energy sector. We're providing a lot for the western counties. A lot of people are moving here from those counties. We're big medical. We're big, you know, shopping, that type of thing, and we're getting a lot of retired people moving back to Bismarck, and that's, you know, not a bad thing. That's something we need to cash in on. We get the home builders to build some smaller single level homes for them, and I see good things happen.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. You each have 1 minute to provide a closing statement to address anything that you maybe want to touch on that you'd like to explain. Please.
Okay. Well, I want to thank the people of Burleigh County. The last 4 years have been very eye-opening. I've got a lot of projects started. I agree with Mr. Schwan. We have to do something about the Missouri Valley complex, but it's not going to happen overnight. I've worked with several different groups, and at some point, probably within the next 4 years, we will really see something going on out there. But I want to thank the people of Burleigh County. They have been very good to me, as has the city of Bismarck, Wilton, Wing, McKinsey, Driscoll, Moffett. And I would enjoy the opportunity to complete the projects that I've started. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vetter.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing this forum to happen and inviting me. And I look forward to the votes from everyone out there. And if anybody wants to know more about me, they can look me up at vetterforburleigh.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Better for Burleigh? That's pretty good.
Mr. Peluso.
Repeat the question.
You have 1 minute to provide a closing statement.
Okay. I haven't said anything about the fairgrounds yet, but I guess this is my opportunity. I think we need to partner with the city, the parks, and the schools. I don't think the county can do it. We don't have the personnel to do it. We can't go out there and build a building and run it because we don't have the personnel or the expertise to do it. But we need to make a push for the city, the park district, and the schools to combine on this and do something really, really nice. As far as me running again, I'll try to provide common sense leadership and do the best I can to think of all the unintended consequences of the decisions we make, which is not easy at times. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. This is a great forum. I'm glad we got to come here and discuss a few things. Thanks to all my supporters who have been out there, anyone who's taking signs, my wife, thank you very much. I look forward to collaboration with whether that be township, city, anything like that. All the rest of the commissioners, I look forward to being on this board. I want to be someone who is serving all the people in the county, whether you be rural, urban, anyone in the county. So I want to make sure that I am here to represent people, be open and transparent, and can bring some new thinking, and we can solve some problems.
Thank you. Mr. Schwab.
Repeat the question.
You have 1 minute to provide a closing statement.
I'm hopeful that people will vote for me. By the way, I want to thank everybody for putting this on. We're all pretty much on the same level as far as infrastructure. We all know that comes first, safety. My real pet peeve, and I've kind of been harping on it a little bit, is when I was a kid, we hauled hay. We always talk about the fairgrounds and stuff like that. Well, Dad, why isn't there a fairground here? And I remember one time we brought a load of hay in, and he said, I asked him, and he said, just go get another load of hay, because he was mad. There's no fair. And I just don't think we can go another 4 years without getting this thing going. And I've got the experience, both politically and construction-wise, and dealing with people. And I just think it's a gold mine sitting there that would. There are so many people right now that are interested in doing something out there, and I just think it just takes that spark plug, and I'd like to get that going. So my theme there would be, let's build it. Let's move.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. And I want to, as well, thank Dakota Media Access and the volunteers from the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum. Thank you to the viewers at home for watching and caring about the issues tonight, for taking the time to learn more about the candidates. This program will replay several times on Government Access, Cable Channel 2, and 602 HD, and will be available for online viewing at your leisure at www.freetv.org in the days leading up to the November 6th election. Before we close this candidate forum, we remind you that you will need a form of identification to vote in North Dakota. You can find identification requirements and additional information, voting information, on the websites or at the offices of your county auditor and the North Dakota Secretary of State. Thank you all, and good night.
Oops.